Welcome to Empowering Moments with Coach T. And you are listening to your host, Toria Reneé, a.k.a. Coach T, right here on IntellectualRadio.com. And let me tell y'all, I am excited that this is the end of the year. For those of you who do not know, I am a women's empowerment coach, a motivational speaker, relationship coach, wedding officiant, best-selling author, and of course, a radio personality right here on IntellectualRadio.com. You are tuned into the last show of the year, and this is where I do the shift segment series. This is the last one for the year, and this is where I give the conversation to all things mindset change and personal growth. The purpose is to simply be a holistic source of empowerment, enriching you mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, and spiritually. Today, it is a blessing to have one of the shepherds of my house at on my show today. She is a pastor of New Harvest Ministries International, alongside her husband Otis T. Burns, the Apostle Otis T. Burns. She is by trade a nurse working in the medical administration. She is a prophetess. She's a preacher, teacher, intercessor, leader, counselor, singer. She don't just sing, she sang, y'all. She's a wife. She is a mother, daughter, sister, friend, and my personal get me all my life together agent. Let me tell y'all, she will get you together. But most of all, she is one of the most sweetest and most compassionate and most personable pastor, first lady people you're going to ever know in your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, blessing me for the first time here at IntellectualRadio.com is affectionately known as PS. Please welcome the lovely, the beautiful Pastor Shonda Burns.
Hey, everybody. I'm so grateful this morning to be here. I consider it an honor and a privilege to sit right next to you, Miss Toria.
Oh, my goodness. It's going to be so much fun, y'all. Okay, so we are going to wrap up 2024. I wanted to bring closure to this conversation around this whole high-low function hybrid low value thing that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant got going on. It has been trending. I know y'all have seen this in these interviews with former football player Cam Newton, as well as Nick Cannon. So we're gonna jump right in. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go get it. All right, so real quick, let's lay some foundation. So I want to get into this conversation about Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, and she is a psychologist. She's a life coach. She's a motivational speaker, and she specializes in mental health. I know that you have reviewed this stuff. Okay, so my first question to you, when you think about all of this terminology, how do you process that when you put it all together? How do you process that? And what's your take on her rationale from a natural and from a spiritual standpoint?
So when I didn't watch her show, I didn't know. I'm very intentional about who I allow to speak into my life. So of course, Cam Newton, God bless his entire life, doesn't have influence over me. So I had not seen the interview, but I did it for research purposes, so I would have understanding. So I didn't know her. I honor who she is. She is credentialed. She has a phenomenal resume. And then, of course, we know Mr. Nick Cannon. And what I saw, based on everything that she said, low function, high function, hybrid, all these different tools, what I saw was a psychologist or even a psychiatrist who has assessment tools that they use internally that they gave the world access to.
Wow, that makes good sense.
So it's just like me, if the doctor tells me to go into the room to assess the patient, what I say to the patient is different than what I say to him, because me and him have an understanding that the patient doesn't. So I think she exposed us to her internal assessment tools that she should use internally to help bring healing and create opportunities for growth for these people. And so if you tell me I'm low function, don't tell me that and leave me there. If I am low functioning, if I am bound by trauma, just calling it out, it doesn't help my patient if I tell them your blood pressure is high. They want to know, what are you going to do? What's the plan? And so I feel that for both interviews, more so with Cam Newton, I felt that she showed up for him with a lack of respect. For him, it's just like me if I plan to come here today to rip you to shreds on your show. I felt like that's what she did. But I also felt that she honored Nick Cannon. And so I went back, and me just as a researcher, and then I'll get to the question. Me as a researcher, I went to see the dates, like how far apart were the interviews, um, because I felt that she has underlying trauma from her father having multiple children with multiple
Absolutely.
women.
Absolutely.
And so when she began to speak to Cam Newton, she spoke to him from the seat of a child that was wounded by her father having multiple children. Even though I don't necessarily feel that that was her intention, but that trauma showed up in that moment.
It most absolutely
And so
did.
it caused her to dishonor and disrespect him. But with her history with Nick Cannon, because if you go back and watch the interview, I think he said to her, "This is our third time together." So it sounded like to me that she was his counselor. So that's a level of trust that had been established. And
Hmm.
so she talked to him with more respect, even though she doesn't respect
What he does.
she doesn't respect a part of what he does, because I realize she respects the financial part of who he is.
Absolutely, because this
Because that's
goes to her
important.
value, her high value, low value thing.
And so I felt that she had a mutual respect for him. Definitely Nick was more articulate in his delivery, and even in his disagreeing, he learned how to disagree with honor because he's been in counseling, because he used the language of counseling. So I just feel that your value system and your worth system is based on what's important to you. Value for me is connected to our emotions. So there could be something that has no value or significance to you. It could be a handkerchief from my mom that's passed down from my grandmother, but I value it, whereas you just view it as tissue.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be so mindful that we honor another person's value system. And I think that's why some relationships fail, platonic or romantic. They fail because that person never valued what was important to you, never learned how to honor what was important to you, even if it didn't make sense, even if you didn't grow up, because we grew up differently. Dr. Miles Monroe said our lives are colliding. And so I just feel that you have to learn how to value what's important to another person in all situations. And that becomes the fight in society, is that I want you to understand what's important to me, and not not just what's important to me, the why, the
Why.
rationale behind what's important to me.
That's good that you say that, because I feel like this whole fight this whole conversation is a tug of war, and it's about understanding who the other person is. And this works for all the ships, just so you know. This works for all of the ships. It's not just man and one. It's all of the ships.
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
It's across the board. I want to focus in a little bit on this value, because we want to talk about value versus worth. So I want to make sure we clue the people in. So high value is someone who has qualities that improve their personal development, relationships, and social interactions. A low value person is the opposite of that, someone who has qualities that don't improve their personal development, relationships, or social interactions. Now, that's her definition. This is Dr. Cheyenne's definition. However, when she interviewed with Cam and Nick, they both summarized her definition of value centered around financial status. And she agreed. So that tells me that even though she has this cute little definition, the truth about what she believes is that money is the measuring tool that determines values, not qualities, right? And so we talked about a little bit about that contradiction. So in today's world, what do you think drives this perception that the value of a person is measured by financial status?
I think culture. I think culture helps drive that. I think we're moved by what we see, and what we see isn't always character. We can go to our leadership over the entire world. I want to be very careful how I say that. The financial piece is more prevalent than character. It's proven to society. And I'm not saying necessarily to me. We see people in strong levels of leadership who have failed morally, who lack character.
And
But
not just men, because we make it seem like only men have to be in the financial
Mhm.
status. And no, it's just women
we've
too.
seen them fail, but they still are in positions of authority, still in positions of leadership, and we kind of turn a blinded eye, and I think we become desensitized to it
Because they have some money.
because they have money, and we could use people that are billionaires in our society. They could live any kind of way, but we honor them because of who they are financially. And I think we've seen it, we've accepted it, we've seen it, we've accepted it. When we think of the scripture that says faith come by hearing, what else comes by hearing? Not just faith. What I hear over and over and over becomes a belief system for me, even if it's unspoken. And so a lot of times we see the acceptance of any and everything because a person is wealthy. We turn a blinded eye. There is no way in the world, and I don't want to get your show shut down. There is no way in the world we should have certain people in leadership just based on the things that they've done that are crimes. Let me
Absolutely.
put it that way, that are
Absolutely.
criminal. But they're in positions of authority because of who they are
And
financially
we're still saying yes to them because of the money.
and who they're connected to and who they know. And there's some cases that are going around now that everybody's silent now because they know they were a part of it.
Right.
You know what I
money,
mean?
I'm telling you,
Because
money
of the finances.
money is like king, and it's
Yeah.
so funny because I watch it. Even when I look at the dynamics of relationships and how people assess who they're going to be around and who they're going to know. You want to be around. If you want to be a millionaire, get around millionaires. If and I understand it makes good sense. But at the same time, you can't be upset because the person you would like to be dating or would like to be associated with does not have all of this money,
Mhm.
right? Because I feel like money is, I can set whatever standard for my lifestyle that I would like.
Mhm.
And so if I'm able to maintain the lifestyle that I like with whatever I have, then I have enough.
Mhm.
That may not suit you, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I don't have enough. That means it's not enough for you. And
Right.
it's okay for you to say out loud, that's not enough for me because that's not the lifestyle that I set. I watch people get judged for the lifestyles that they set.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is what they set. Why are you upset?
I
If you
remember,
can't meet it, then move on.
but it's with anything. I remember being 32, 31, 32, not married yet, desiring to be married. And I remember saying out of my mouth that I wanted to marry a man that didn't have kids. And so I was judged on so many levels. I just knew that I didn't want to be a stepmom. I've seen the pain for with people that have been stepmothers, and so, or step parent in general. I won't isolate it to being a stepmom. So it was a decision that I made for myself. So then it became an unrealistic expectation. It became that will never happen. You're in your 30s. So you're going to meet a man that's 30 that doesn't have children
And did y'all.
and did.
And
I said,
did y'all, huh?
And so I just feel there's nothing wrong with wanting both. There's nothing wrong with wanting partnership with the person that's financially secure and stable and that has character. I think
Absolutely.
that we've been taught that you have to choose. We've been taught, okay, accept him for his finances. And women, we are
And
the
get over,
master of,
yes.
we're going to work on him. We're going to shape him. We're going to get him together and
When he don't want to be. When he
help
don't
him
want to be.
with his character. Listen, I just feel like we could have both.
Amen. I love that.
And it's okay. We can have both.
We can have both. Let's have it all. Okay. I believe it. I'm gonna have it all. I've talked to my mother about this already. She was like, well, you want this? I said, let me tell you something. We are not gonna be trading because I'm not gonna be choosing between I want this, I'll take this over that. No, I want the whole package. The Lord knows who I am. Okay.
And there's some things you will have to submit to or accept, but they don't have to be things that are that lack integrity. I don't have to deal with an abusive personality just because they're wealthy. I want to be in a position as a woman before I was married that I could take care of myself.
Absolutely.
So you know what? I'm taking that off the table because I could take care of myself. So now I'm looking deep. I'm deep diving into who you are because I'm not looking for you to take care of me.
Absolutely.
Because I could take care of myself and I was in a position that I could even take care of you. Not that I want to. So now I'm not hyper focused on the finances. I can deep dive into everything else
that's gonna last.
Right, because
Okay.
I still want you need to take care of yourself too, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming to the table taking care of
Take
myself.
care. Yes, build your queendoms, honey. Build your queendoms out here. So I believe that this contradiction that we're seeing with Dr. Bryant's definitions and all of her discussions and the perception of value is because people see the meaning of the words differently. So
Mhm,
I want to define value versus worth. We talked about what value is.
mhm,
Let's talk about what worth is. Worth is the level at which someone or something deserves to be valued or rated. So your worth is what you bring that adds value to the other person.
mhm,
Okay. We don't now that's what I feel like we women be thinking about what you gonna bring, what you bring into the
mhm.
table that's gonna worth is something to add to my life. I don't know that men think this way. Or I don't
I'm
know how
pretty sure.
they
I don't think they think that way, because
no
what I've seen, and I was actually talking to my mother about this in the car, value and worth was taught to men and women differently.
differently. And that's yes, that's what
Completely differently.
yes.
We were talking about how when I was a child, so for my generation, men were taught to do. Little boys were taught to do, and
Hmm.
they were taught to stifle emotions. A boy could fall and cry, and a girl could have the same experience, but he was taught men don't cry. Boys don't cry. Stop crying. So they were taught to suppress, don't feel, don't have any response to that. But a woman was taught to feel emotions, but she was also taught to be multifaceted. And men were just taught to do. Women were taught. There was a song when I was a child, and it's so funny. It's gonna age myself where I can bring home the bacon and I can fry it up in a pan. So
Hmm.
she was taught that I can work and I could do, but boys were just taught to do. And so sometimes that's why you see them fail when they no longer can do, or you see a person that has done some type of sports as their career. When they're injured, you see them go into depression because they've completely established who they are with what they do.
Yes, I think, and that's what I wanted to get to because I realized I'm like, okay, this is because men and women don't see the words the same, and it means something different to them. So I want to take a really quick break and talk about the cave
Uh-oh.
because she got Lord y'all she said weep the cry of the intercessor, and y'all don't understand what this really means. For y'all don't understand what this gonna mean for us because what that really means is we're about to get wiped out. But I want you to tell the people about it.
So listen, God gave me this dream about going into a cave. And when I found myself in a cave, I looked around and I saw tons of people there. And I asked him, like, what is my assignment? And it was to bring them out, help them see who they were and to bring them out. And so this was during the pandemic, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't even know how to produce that in the pandemic, so I did nothing with it. Then I start dreaming about it again. And then of course when you dream about something for the second time, you have more context. And so I developed this cave experience where women can come in and be delivered, be set free, network, develop community, see their value, see their worth, be reminded of it, because sometimes life is life, and we forget who we are, forget our upbringing, so many different things. And so last year, the focus was the emotionally intelligent woman. And this year, the focus is weep the cry of the intercessor. And one of the things, and it's so funny we're having this conversation, is so many men have reached out to me asking, can they come? Because they want to learn how to weep. So it lines up with what we're talking about, because the men are begging to come, because sometimes they were taught to pray, but they weren't taught to cry.
Wow, that is so good. You know what? See how that ties all in, y'all? I didn't even know that. Okay. I really wasn't even going for that. I was just
Listen,
trying.
I'm
Come
just
on. So tell them when it is.
it's April 25th and 26th. It will be in Downers Grove at the DoubleTree. We have actually sold out the hotel. So if anybody still wants to come, and I'm so excited that we have actually sold out of our first
Whoop,
venue.
whoop, whoop.
And so we have another hotel that's 5 minutes away. I can't even think of which one it is
Just
right
the
now. The
embassy.
embassy. Say I have a team of 30 people. Listen, that's how it's grown. But
Yes.
we have the embassy suites if you want to stay there. So we're excited about it. I believe it's $170 for the VIP treatment with a really nice swag bag. So please come. We're opening it up to the men. Listen, Intellectual Radio is hearing it for the first time that we are launching the man cave.
Did y'all hear
The
that?
man cave. Listen, New Harvest, I haven't even told y'all.
The
See,
first announcement is on my show, y'all. I'm so blessed. Oh my
so
God.
we have a session teaching men how to weep, a private session. Um, and it's the launch of the man cave. A small launch, but a launch nonetheless, where the men can come and they're going to be trained and developed by two phenomenal prophets that are going to teach them how to pray, teach them how to cry, teach them how to stand between the porch and the altar, and just pour into the ministry gifts. I just believe we don't want to leave them behind.
Awesome.
Amen.
Awesome. So I just want to make sure that you guys know I have posted the flyer on my personal page. Once I'm off the show, I'll put it on my other pages because right now I'm just gonna have time to do all this electronics. But I will put it out on the other pages. But it is on my page. It also has the link for you to register. All right. So get
Please
on
come.
there. Come on and
Please
register.
come.
Come on out. Get laid on the floor like all the rest of us.
Listen,
But
and
it's gonna change your life. Really, it's gonna change
right,
your
and
life.
that's
It's
what
gonna
I
pour
want to be
into you.
clear.
It's going to really, really change the inner part of you, not just the aesthetic of you. You're going to have something that you can actually bring with you, take with you, salivate on,
Mhm.
churn and think about and rest on and expound on. Like you're going to
Sure.
be able to take that thing and make it still work for you. It's not gonna just work for you the one day you come. You're gonna still remember that. I still remember the last one, okay? And I'm
And
still
it's
working
for
those
you to
steps.
function in your mountains of influence effectively and whole, not just at church. It's outside of the four walls. But if you're in media, I want you to be whole and effective and in pursuit of what you're called to do and in pursuit of purpose. Even if you don't understand, because it's not even about laying out, it's about reconnecting with God
Yes.
and partnering with people with like minds that can help you. You know, sometimes we don't have accountability partners. So you find them in the cave. You find
You
people
do.
in the cave that help you walk out life.
You do. Quick shout out to DJ Bass. Thank you for tuning in. Quick shout out to Sister V. That's our co-host, my other co-host here at Intellectual Radio Fireside Chats. Uh, Shout out to Erica Frazier Gales. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Pearl Parks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I
Yes.
appreciate you all for tuning in and watching this morning. All right. So, and we are going to come on back in. Again, for those of you who may have just tuned in, this is Empowering Moments with Coach T, and we are further examining the difference in value and worth with my co-host, Pastor Shonda Burns, right here on IntellectualRadio.com, and considering the definitions in the context of the conversation, being Dr. Bryant's definitions of value and the definition of worth. I'm going to introduce some new terminology here because
Mhm.
this is what I think makes a little more sense, because I think this part she forgot. I think we forgot to add high worth, low worth. Okay.
Mhm.
So high worth, someone who has demonstrated regularly and consistently over a period of time that they add something to your life that you need.
Mhm.
And it's unselfishly given.
Absolutely.
Okay. Low worth, of course, is the opposite of that. Someone who has demonstrated regularly and consistently over a period of time that they add very little to nothing to your life that you need. Those will be your manipulators, your takers, and all of that.
But
Okay.
do we keep them? Do we keep them? That's the boom. That's the aha moment, right? Do we keep them in our lives? Because I think because as women we've been taught to be nurturers, we always think, and it's not a spoken think. It's in our heart that we're going to help them. I see it. You look at the life of Jesus. What do you see? He knew who was in his camp. He knew Judas. Judas
Yes.
kept him sharp on his game. So, do we get rid of all the low worth people, or we just hang around all the high worth people?
See, I think that we have to learn how to manage
Absolutely.
the because everybody serves us in different ways,
Mhm.
and you have to know how they're serving. And so you have to determine, are you serving me? Are you the person that pushes me?
Mhm.
Even though you may not be this high worth to me,
Mhm.
do you push me and propel me to stay on my game?
Mhm.
Because if you do, I can keep you, because then I know how to maneuver around you. It is the toxic people that you
Mhm.
be like, you know what, see, you
Absolutely.
not really helping. You ain't even pushing me. Actually, you trying to drag me down and it ain't work. I can't have you. That's you like dead weight to me.
Mhm.
So then you have to know the difference between who's dead weight and who's actually, this balance of good and bad, because I think we have to have both
And
in order to.
understanding too, you could have a high worth person in your life for a season because God might have them there to help you get to your next. And I think sometimes we assume that that's a friendship. Sometimes it could be a collaboration, it could be a partnership, it could be just for a season. I've worked in companies where I needed a particular skill set, and this high value person, high worth person I met imparted that into me, and they're not in my life. But I'm forever changed because of that encounter and that season. But I think we take all seasons and try to make them
And we
lifelong,
hold
and we hold
on.
on. And it's not always that. I mean, I never talked to my nursing instructor, but for a season, she had high value, high worth in my life because there was a pour that I needed from her. But I don't ever, I've never seen her since.
So let me ask this question. So how do we determine, number one, how do we determine if the person is in our lives just for a season or not? And then if they are only for a season, how do we condition or prepare ourselves to let go?
And I think it's hard. I think we learn it. What does the scripture say? We learn things through the things we suffer. And I will use myself as a pastor. I'm sorry, I keep bumping that. Um, there are people that have come into our lives. We've pastored for so many years, and they're not in our lives in the same capacity. And so initially, I had to grieve it because I took it as a loss. And so then I had to mature in, okay, God, I realize I have to shift into who we are. We're not just a traditional church where people come to our church and they stay and for the rest of their lives. I had to learn that we're a training hub, we're a deliverance center, we're a place where people can come and get restored and sent back out to do the work in other ministries. So I had to mature, I had to be developed, I had to do the work. So I could, God, help me to identify them, help me to see who they are, help me to see their function in my life. Um, some of them I thought were long lasting relationships and they weren't. So God, okay. So he would take me back to the foundation, which is the word of God. And say, he said, watch, look at my life. I had 12 men and there was some jacked up stuff going on. 12. But we can still probably, if we look at the 12, we can put our people in one of those categories.
So y'all, just so you know, we still talking about worth because now we're getting into the core of what worth is all about. And worth is because worth is not just, oh, what do I you don't have anything to add to someone's life until you've been poured into. You know what I mean? Like I'm only able to pour into the people that I'm able to pour into because I've had some experiences of my own. And some of those have included someone pouring into me.
But also, and I don't want to disagree, but I will say you were born with worth. A lot of times you had to be around people to help you identify it. Because it was already there. Because when you read the scripture, he says everything that he made what was good.
Was good.
But what has happened, society, life, everything comes against that. Look at Adam and Eve. They had everything of value, but they didn't see it as such. Because value is about perspective.
So worth needs to be cultivated.
Absolutely.
And so once worth is cultivated, then you can turn around and pay it forward.
Mhm.
And so, but I just want to make sure y'all know we're still talking about worth.
Mhm.
Because I think sometimes the conversation kind of shifts into other things and people think we're not on the same topic. We're still on the same
Absolutely.
topic. We're still talking about worth because being poured into and being cultivated, learning to perfect your craft, learning to perfect your gifts, learning to actually understand what your potential is and how to maximize on it, how to utilize it. Those are all things that add to worth. Those are all things that build
Absolutely.
worth.
Think of it in the natural. Okay, I went to high school. You have a high school diploma. Then you go to college, whatever level of college, whether it be associate degree, that was a level, baccalaureate degree, that's a level, master's, all those things add to your value and your worth. And it makes you more marketable.
You're building and you're building holistically. You don't know that you are, but you are. You're built like I just finished my master's. Yay. So I realized that at all the time that I'm in school, I'm not just learning the materials. I'm actually learning how to collaborate.
Mhm.
I'm learning different. I'm seeing the text of materials from different perspectives because I am collaborating with my classmates and they're understanding the information differently and sharing that out.
Mhm.
And so I'm learning from their perspectives, which is like huge. Like that's even
It's
bigger
huge. It's
than
huge.
that's actually bigger than it's bigger than just the knowledge that you're getting from when you read the book.
Mhm.
Because you're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Again, now it gives me something else to think about and something that I can build on. Now, when I get ready to work out and walk out things, I can be like, oh, you know what? I can do it this way because I remember the perception.
And you don't realize the expansion that was taking place while it was happening. You only see it when you have to use it or you're challenged in a way. You're like, no, I have a different perspective about that now because
Yes,
of the previous experience
because it's
and the poor.
yes. Real quick, Pearl Park says, Amen. I think we are born in a raw form, and by submitting to God, He refines it to
Absolutely.
be to meet for the master's use.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yes, Pearl.
Amen.
Erica Gale says, we act like God would never put us in proximity to people that would be considered low worth. Jesus came to serve those who were considered of low worth
Mhm.
or to other humans. He values them still. So we were talking about honoring them. And then Sis V says, yes, that's why I love collaboration. She and I have been collaborating also. So you guys are gonna see some new things in the new year. Y'all get ready. Y'all get ready. It's a quiet, quiet announcement.
And let me just say this, because I love what Erica said. And that's what happens to us as believers and just as humans. We could be so focused on the next thing, getting it done, staying on track with purpose, that we miss someone that we view as low worth to us, but they have high worth to somebody else. Get the revelation of that.
It is this is why I say it's relative and it's individualistic.
Mhm.
What I've considered high value, high worth, high function is not what you're going to consider it. It's not how you're going to define it. It may not be, and that is okay. We fall out when men say, oh, I don't want a woman that's this and I don't want a woman that's that. And then you be looking at him like he's supposed to take anything. I'm like, why can't he have a choice just like we do? He can say what he likes and don't like. It's not, so what? He don't want a thick girl. Live with it.
And that doesn't mean you have to change.
Right,
It just means he's not for you.
He's not for you, and that's okay. Like, let's not be trying to put people in these boxes. I think one of the things that I think about when I think about the high function, whatever it is, stop putting people in these boxes. I'm not going to tell you that I think you are this. For what? That's the box that I put you in. That is not the box that you see yourself
But
in.
I think culture does that. When you listen to the language of the culture, it changes, it evolves. And so people function accordingly. You can go back and listen to music from the 70s, and there was a sound. There was a sound from the 80s. So now when I listen to it now, some of this stuff sounds irrelevant. Why? Because we've evolved and we've changed and we've grown. There are some music from my mom's time. I love the Temptation. So that music is beautiful. It's talking about love. But some of the things we were talking about was based on the rights, the civil rights and different things that were being that we had to fight for. So now because we have those particular liberties, it's different. So I just think what's valuable to me at 20
was oh my
is
God.
not valuable to me at 50.
So it is so
It was
not.
so important to me. It was so important
So
to me.
important. So
But
important.
at 50, it doesn't matter.
I don't even care.
And then as I've had people pass, as I've grown, as I've matured, as I've worked on my identity to begin to develop the mind of Christ, I'm like, wow, I wasted time. So that's why he says what he'll redeem it.
Thank God he redeems time, because we sure can waste it out here with our own thought processes that focusing on things that are not important. But it's a process. And I always, when I talk to anyone who is younger than me, and not that I'm a mentor around here, because I'm not coining that, but
You won't accept it, but it's okay.
but when I do, I often tell people, I often say, it's okay because I understand your age. I understand this is where you are, and it's normal for you to feel this way and think this way. But let me just give you a little bit of game so I can just have you thinking about what it's going to be like when you hit a different age, so you can kind of be prepared and it don't sneak up
And
on
not
you.
just hit the age, but have lived through the age.
Absolutely, because
So
I want you
have
to make
had
better
different
decisions.
right? Because
Right.
I would say, oh, if I had known this at 16, would I have stewarded At 16, no,
No, I
because I
wouldn't
didn't have
have.
experience.
Right. But I try to put things on their mind and say, okay, just think this through so that
Sure.
when you're getting ready to make the next decision, that's going to really, really impact the rest of your life because all your decisions impact the rest of your life somehow, right? Just think about what I'm saying. Then
Sure.
it'll help you make a
Yeah.
different decision or a better decision. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. But I'm not never trying to get you to, I'm not never the one that's going to tell you you shouldn't do that because girl, look, do it, live your life. You have to have an experience. I can't
Yes.
take that away from you. If I take the experience away from you, you're not going to learn what you need to learn. Right. And so I think that's important. Sister V said, I wasn't made for a box. I will suffocate and die. Come on here.
Come on.
She said, Erica says, context plays a strong role in our value system. This is why I believe God puts in different contexts to broaden our understanding and focus. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you. I love my earrings too, Sister V.
You guys are too funny.
This is my people. I want to just talk where we at. Let me see what time we at. Okay, we got a few more minutes. The other piece that I want to get into a little bit is I want to talk about what can we do that's going to help us better assess and better steward this conversation around value and worth, and how do we make sure that we're bringing value and bringing worth and we're showing up in that way? Like, how do we do that?
One of the biggest things is you have to define it, because her definition doesn't work for me. So you define what value means to you and be honest to that. One of the things that I wrote down, it says, what is a value system?
You gotta come on up a little bit.
I'm sorry. A value system is a set of beliefs and principles that guide a person's or group's actions, decisions, and judgments. So those things will bring accountability to you when it's your value system. So it's easy to, because some of the stuff she said contradicts.
Yes.
Even when she showed up, she
She's contradicted
contradicted
herself a couple
so
of
many
times.
times
Yes.
because her trauma showed up.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be so mindful that what I value anchors me. What I value has to anchor me, and it doesn't change because I'm in a room with people that disagree.
Ooh, that's it. That's hot right there. What I value anchors me, and it should not change just because other people are in the room. That's it right there. Come on.
And that's what happens as a teenager. It does change in the room because you don't know yourself yet. But the older you get, my value system anchors me, and I'm not going to budge on it. I could be in a room at work. I will ask the Lord to give me wisdom in how to respond because I'm not at church. This is not a Christian organization, but I still have a value system, a set of beliefs that I have to stay true to. So when I'm challenged in ways, I ask God to lead and guide me in all truth. So my response is appropriate for work and still anchored in the truth of my value system, which is anchored in the Word of God.
Awesome. I see. This is why I wanted her on the show, y'all. This is why I wanted her. So when you think about all things self-awareness, all things self-improvement, all things healthy relationship management, both platonic and romantic, and I throw this term out and I say, what is value of a person relative to character? What do you think about?
I think they should be intertwined. So what I say should show up in my action. What I believe should show up in my actions. It should show up in my responses, show up how I treat people. They should not be, it shouldn't be like an oxymoron. It should be who I am. So I remember somebody said they introduced me at something and they said, I met her before I met her because who she was, people spoke well of her in the room before she entered the room. So your character should show up and line up with your value system. The things that we're seeing is they're different. You're saying one thing, you're saying you're a believer, you're saying that you're kind, you're saying that you have empathy, but you're extremely judgmental and critical.
So don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. And as you're walking the walk relative to your belief system.
Absolutely.
And so that now you're not having to fake or put on a show. You are always walking in authenticity.
And then because otherwise you're discredited. people will think,
Yeah, I see right through that one.
okay, yeah, she says this, but she's mean. You talk about compassion, you talk about empathy, you
And I
talk
ain't
about
saying
the
you show
love of the
none.
Lord, but you show up and you're mean and you're critical and you're judgmental. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. So again, I'm gonna throw out this other one: value of a person relative to money. What do you want people to learn? Because I want us to learn a new way of thinking about these terms. Value of a person relative to money.
That they steward well. And that is so like that they steward well. And you see it. They steward their money well. Um, they budget well because we say we're so sanctified and so deep. But man, look at our checking account. Do you have tons of overdrafts?
Yes.
I'm just saying. So they steward well. They steward well. And it doesn't mean that you're rich. So hear me. It doesn't mean that you're rich, but you steward what you have well.
I have said this, and don't get me wrong, I do have a standard of where I think I want my partner to be in terms of finances, and I do, and it's not like it's astronomical, but at the same time,
Maybe it is, but
it's actually no, it's
I
really
know
really
you.
not. It's not astronomical.
I know you.
It's not. Okay, I'm not asking him to do anything I'm not willing to do.
Sure.
That's where I'm at.
And that's fair.
But at the same time, I understand that it's not always the question of how much he's making. It is how he stewards it. It's how he manages it. It is and it's also understanding his relationship with money.
Absolutely.
How he thinks about money, the value that he places on it, the thought process that he has about money, the mindset. Because if you have the right mindset about money, you kind of in a position to always be able to obtain it, maintain it, and even rebuild it if you lose it.
Yes, the maintain it. We do this thing in premarital counseling where we give people a certain amount of money and we give them bills.
Oh, wow.
And so each person has to do the budget and present it to the partner.
Oh, cool.
Our intention is to create an argument about money. They don't realize that because people value money differently.
That's actually a good idea. That's actually
and
a
so
good
we
idea.
have them write out their budget. They have a mortgage. We tell them what it is. We tell them, but we don't tell them about the nail appointments and the hair appointments and the barber because we want to see their value system, and their partner needs to see their value
What
system.
else you gonna be spending
Do
this
you
money
tithe?
on?
We don't tell you
Yes.
about your tithes. And so then when they're sitting, because we just in the room, and when they present the budget to one another, it creates I didn't know.
Did you spend this type of money on that?
One lady said, "Well, I need $250 a month for my hair and my nails," and he went off and said, "Well, I need at least 20% of our income in savings before you pay any bills." Then one guy, he went to church, but he didn't go to church often, so he didn't understand her tithing. So the purpose of this exercise is to create conversations that they wouldn't have had before.
You know what? I'm so glad that y'all that y'all do this because I've always wondered.
But it's for the value of money and how you steward money.
I've always asked these questions about how people end up getting married, and then all of a sudden they act brand new, like they didn't know who they married. And I'm like, so y'all done had these conversations before?
But we try to create moments where it's so detailed that you can't lie, because the average person in premarital counseling wants to show the best of who they are.
So they just tell you the answers.
So we're watching you. We're watching your body movements, and we'll say, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because we want them to have those tough conversations to understand value and worth. What's important to them?
Yes. Yeah. You know what? I love this because I've also often wondered, I ain't never been married before. I don't know nothing about how everybody do it different. But I'd be like, well, do y'all really have these real gritty conversations that make you think? Because it's like key things people seem not to know. Like this one guy gonna tell me something. He didn't know he couldn't have a relationship with another woman. How you didn't know that? Like you got married and you didn't know? I didn't know that getting married meant I couldn't go out with my friends. So you thought you got married to still go out and hang out with your friends? Like that makes sense to you?
But what is the scripture? Which one I want to use? There is a way that seems right to man, but the end thereof is destruction. So, but that's based on my value system. That's why when you're studying the word, he's trying to get you to renew your mind to think like him, because you're coming to him with your old perspective, and he's trying to shift that. That's why it's like daily will I seek thee, because daily I'm trying to shift your mind, because your mind will have you thinking like the old man.
Man, I tell you, you know what? And it's funny because I realize that when we come into sanctification, we kind of bring all that old stuff with us. Like we
And
bring
we
the
can't help
old
but
way
to
that
bring it.
I mean, right,
We
and
can't help
naturally
but to.
so. We bring the old way that we did things into sanctification, then wonder why it ain't working. I'm like, well, then
And all
it don't
the
go together.
unhealthy mindsets and unhealthy ways, and that's why when he tells us to search the scripture, search it so you can find what's right. Search it so you can find a new way. Search it so you can get a new perspective. So your
Yes,
mind can be renewed. So your heart can change. So your actions can change. So then your behaviors change.
absolutely. All right, give us some last words. Leave us with some words.
One of the things that I wrote down and we didn't get to it is I would encourage everyone to review and audit your daily habits, your daily patterns. Because one of the things was your self worth, your self awareness. And these are the areas that you will find opportunities for improvement. Study what you do habitually, because we habitually do things that are unhealthy, but you have to audit it. And sometimes have an accountability partner that you trust and have them audit it. Because if your perspective is skewed, you don't even see the areas of opportunity for change and for growth and for development.
Yes. All right, guys, there you have it. Thank you so much to Pastor Shonda for being my very special guest today. It was an absolute honor to have you. Thank you so much for all of you all who have joined in to the shift today. Connect with me on Facebook at I am the Coach T. While you are there, remember to request my friendship so that you can tune in to me and listen to my weekly Walk It Out Wednesdays, that's going to resume Wednesday next year, Wednesdays on February the 5th, 2025. Don't forget to like, follow, and opt in to receive notifications so that you will never, ever, ever miss me on the book. Okay. Have a wonderful, 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 happy new year. And I will see you guys in 2025. This has been Empowering Moments with Coach T right here on IntellectualRadio.com. I am the Coach T, and just be you. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. You'll be empowered.